Speaking of Christian Cage and AEW, Christian Cage, as we talked about earlier, made his AEW debut this past weekend, I should say, at AEW Revolution. Signed his contract for a long-term deal. Christian was on the Renee Paquette Oral Sessions podcast this week. She got the big scoop in the first interview with the newly signed Christian. And she asked Christian about signing with AEW and how all that came about. Check this out.
Was it a difficult decision to really decide to come to AEW? I mean, like you said, you left WWE back in 2005, went to TNA.
Yeah.
But for you to come back to this conclusion, was it difficult for you to get
Well,
there?
I mean, of course. I mean, there's always, whenever there's like some sort of, decision like that life-altering decision, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of time to think about this, but it was like, what I really needed was the best platform for me to, like said, I kind of got a second lease on life here with this, to be able to showcase that, but also help.
Yeah.
Where could I help also the next generation the best? And that's kind of what I felt here at AEW. Like that was this, like my initial talks with Tony, like I said, the first conversation we had, we talked for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And from that initial conversation, I was like, man, like I didn't think it was going to go that well. And it came together pretty quickly after that, I think we hit it off, kind of had the same feeling as to where he saw me and what I could do and what I could bring to the table and how I could help the roster and help myself and help the show. And it's like, there's something intriguing about that to me.
Yeah.
And I like a challenge.
Yeah.
And it was not an easy decision, but it also wasn't a hard decision, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
There was something intriguing about being able to be a little more hands-on with everything and having that challenge as well. It just felt like the right situation. And like, there's nothing wrong with WWE and the way they do things.
Sure.
And
it works obviously to a degree. For certain people, it's great, but you've already done it, and it's like trying on a new hat, and figuring new shit out.
So it's one of the, like, I needed this for me at this point.
In your music, you're able to get the old Christian Cage music. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's cool. And like, Tony had brought up, like, he was such a fan of the Christian Cage TNA era. So I was like, why can't we use that music?
Christian debuting in AEW is a huge get for AEW. I'm going to say the same thing I said about the Big Show. It's great to have him around, just to have backstage with the younger talent in general. Now, I know with Big Show just happening and now Christian getting signed, a lot of people are on the too many ex-WWE guys, too many old guys, blah, 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 blah. TNA. It's not the same thing, and here's why. Because AEW has done a fantastic job of building up their own stars. Creating stars, building them up, putting them in the main event. As long as they continue to do that, and we don't start to see main events being Christian versus Jericho for the world title, and fucking Big Show versus whoever the fuck, you get my point. As long as they are able to walk that fine line, because again, I think that's a stupid argument to begin with. I think if there's a free agent out there in wrestling and they have name value and they can bring something to your company, you sign them. You don't worry about whether they came from another fucking of course they came from another company. Any wrestler worth their shit spent time in WWE if they're not brand new and just starting out, right? So if you're not the homegrown stars in AEW, chances are you're probably from TNA or you're from WWE, and that's okay as long as you're not trying to run your promotion as the fucking WWE Attitude Era with all the old Attitude Era guys that are all fat, out of shape, balding, gray, whatever the fuck, okay? As long as you're not doing that and you're pushing your own stars, you're building your own stars, there's nothing wrong with this. You guys read too much internet. You guys think you know more than you know. Okay? Oh, another WWE guy. Oh, they're just like TNA. They're not, and you're wrong. All of that's bullshit. Christian, great signing for AEW, and despite the overwhelming hype that maybe he didn't deliver on, being, The Rock or anything, This is a great move still, and I'm excited to see it. Christian also talked about how he was able to get himself cleared and what led to all of this to begin with. Check this out.
Just say, hey, let's hop on FaceTime.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, by the way, medically cleared. It was like, excuse fucking me? What?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea that was ever going to be a possibility.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing kind of started when I did the unsanctioned match with Randy, where I couldn't get physically touched. And it was a real thing. And I was like, really? This is where I'm at, that I can't get touched, you know? And it's like, so I kind of took it upon myself and I made my own appointment and all those sorts of things. And I went to, there's a place in Tampa called the University of South Florida Concussion Center. And I saw them before I was retiring and all those sorts of things. So I saw the same doctor. I made the appointment, went in on my own, didn't tell anybody I was doing it. My thought process was, you know, if I go in and they tell me that they think I'm good, it opens up new doors. And if they say, you know, you shouldn't do this, I'm in no different situation than I was when I woke up that morning.
Sure.
So I went into the tests and I sat down with the doctor after, and he's like, you like crushed these tests.
When was this? Like October?
It was earlier than that. It was like June.
Oh, shit.
End of June. And he's like, you were average or above average on all these test scores. You didn't fail on anything. And then all your physical scores were good. And then we just had a conversation. I just told him like where my head was at. And I was like, you know, if you think I'm crazy and you don't think I should do this, that's fine. But I just needed to know. And he's like, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think you can do this. I
mean, that is crazy.
I think there's an element of, we don't want you to wrestle here anymore as well. I never got the impression, same with Daniel Bryan and anybody else that this has happened with, Edge aside, because that was a neck issue and nobody wants him to be paralyzed in the ring or whatever. But with this concussion situation, I almost get the impression that WWE uses this as a way to it's a way to get out of having to use these guys. They don't like Daniel Bryan. They never have. It's clear. They don't like him. He's small. He's bland. He's plain. Blech. What do people see in this guy? They don't get it. Same with Christian. Oh, that creepy little bastard. We got to put a blue dot over his face. Ha ha ha. Like, if they don't like you or don't see the value in you, they will find a way to not use you. And I think having you got a concussion. Well, we can't have you. You too many concussions. We don't want you in our ring anymore. And they can just say that's that. And obviously there was some medical trueness to that. I'm not the doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they were perfectly capable of wrestling, because they may not have been. But we also all of a sudden run into the situation where, oh, there's another company here. Yeah, you can wrestle now. That's fine. Daniel Bryan, they did that with, but Daniel Bryan was also still worth money to WWE. I don't think Christian was worth. I don't know what he was asking. I don't know. Christian's not a main eventer. Christian is a top of the mid card, bottom of the main event type kind of guy. He's not your biggest star. He is a key player, can be a key player. He's not your biggest star. So WWE passed on him, and AEW took him up, and Christian had to wait 7 years to get cleared before he could even have this conversation. And who knows if he tried before that. I didn't hear him say that he tried previously and was told he couldn't. We just know he was told he could not wrestle anymore. And then he gave it up. He let go of his dream. He did other things. He was happily retired, sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, and then just decided to say, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go wrestle. And he went and wrestled. And now he's in AEW. And WWE did miss the boat by not signing him. They just had him at the Royal Rumble. So they just have somebody that was just now at the Royal Rumble. All of a sudden he's going to be in AEW because they didn't want to sign him. Christian also made mention in this podcast interview that he got his original theme music back from TNA because of the working relationship with Impact and AEW. I think he said they tweaked it a little bit. Kind of like a remixed version or a little revamped version to make it more of an AEW thing. But essentially, it's his same theme music. And that, I believe, was his idea to just bring it. He said he just mentioned to Tony Khan, like, why can't we use my original theme music? And they apparently must have reached across the aisle over to TNA with that good working relationship, and they got they got permission or rights, or I don't know, maybe they own it outright. Who knows? But Christian's got his own theme music back, and I loved that theme music, right? The TNA Christian theme music. I'll even go as far as to say Christian in TNA was a fantastic, one of the best eras of TNA, period. Christian, for those of you that didn't follow TNA or weren't around back then or didn't want to watch it, Christian's run as champion in TNA at that time was a fantastic era. He was working with AJ Styles. He was fucking NWA champion. He held it down. He held his own as a main eventer, and he was fun to watch. So fully capable, fully believe in Christian's ability, and Christian will be a great asset to AEW. Go check out that interview with Renee Young, Renee Paquette, Renee Good, Renee whatever the fuck you want to call her. It's oral sessions. Not that kind of oral sessions, the speaking kind, you know. Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.